That's beautiful. I love that. So, Josh, yesterday we had a little bit of an opportunity to chat, but why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to me and tell me who you are? You know that I'm Kate Steele and I'm running for the state
Yes.
37th district for East Lyme and Salem. And you reached out to me and you wanted to know more about me. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm 22 years old. I grew up in East Lyme, and I think I'm still living here now. And I think I want to kind of look towards the future and make East Lyme a good town to live in and kind of help everybody in my community, and especially like
I love that. So the best town possible. And you described yourself as an educator yesterday when we spoke. You said that you substitute taught and you've had some experience in the classroom. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. But you just finished a bachelor's degree. Is that correct as well?
Yes, I did.
And what did you get a degree in?
Genetics and biotechnology.
Wow, that was one of those SNAP programs, right?
Yeah.
I'm just teasing. Of course, it was very difficult and strenuous, and you studied copious amounts and did really, really well, I'm sure. But you're not done with your program yet. What is the next step?
So I really enjoy the science field, but as I've kind of continued my job, or at my job now, continuing my career and education path as a whole. I'm on the environmental and health and safety committee at work.
I can't wait to find out more about that. Environmental health and safety. Okay.
Yeah, so I've discovered a whole bunch of different outlets within companies that kind of focus on both the safety of employees and also environmental policies and regulations and other things like that. And at least the company that I'm with, Charles River, is doing a really great job of focusing on sustainability.
Right.
And on top of the passion I already had, I think I've decided to go with to further my education in sustainability and go for a master's in energy and environmental management at UF.
Nice. Yeah. That's kind of a mouthful. And so tell me a little bit about what you see on your job with the environment and with healthy standards and the kind of work that you're doing right now.
So I guess we're doing a couple of different things. I'm just kind of on the committee level, so it's more of implementing what other people have brought up, but we have a whole bunch of different programs. Some are newer, some are older. Just trying to either improve recycling or like find more reusable resources at work. And then at my level, I'm implementing those things and making sure that the site is kind of compliant with whatever we're doing.
Nice. Okay. So this morning, I guess it was maybe a little bit this afternoon, I took a trip over to the transfer station in Salem and saw the transfer station there, and they do a lot of recycling, a lot of recyclables. And we were talking to the man who was in charge of it, and he was saying that the markets for some of these products aren't as good as they used to be. Can you speak to that at all? What's going on with that?
If I'm being honest, I don't really think I could.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not in your wheelhouse, yeah, but we'll look forward to having more information about that, because I think I know that you're a strong environmentalist and I am too. So we want people to reduce, reuse, recycle as much as possible. But then if we're talking about recycling and if we don't have the opportunity to, before I think we were shipping a lot of our products or byproducts things to China, and China was making them into new things for us, like a rug or like a plastic rug made out of old flip-flops, that kind of thing. But now, if we're not able to do that, if they're not taking those shiploads back and making them into new things for us to then repurchase or to purchase, then we're losing that whole market. And then I'm just wondering what's going to happen to some of our products that we're recycling, because we really want to do that, but just what happens down the road, what the future looks like for that.
Interesting. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so I guess, I'm thinking down the road, we really need to get engineers on board to reimagine again what it would be like for some of the things that we recycle. I don't know if it would be everything down from the milk jugs when we have our milk that we buy, and then who can use that and how we can reuse it and what
Hmm.
works best for those kinds of products. I know when I was a kid growing up, we had a lot of glass bottle milk, and those were back in the days when there were milkmen. So you probably don't even know about that.
I'm aware of it, but never experienced it firsthand.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a long time ago. So you're a real strong environmentalist. Tell me what some of your concerns might be.
So I do think recycling is a big concern. I think right now a lot of my focus is on like kind of corporate and business regulations and stuff, which is something that I really would like to see handled better, both at like the state and federal level. I'm sure, as you know, like Trump has reversed some of those policies that have been in place.
There's a bunch
Uh,
of them. Absolutely.
yeah. So handling things like that, I would love to see. I'd also like to see on the community and like personal level, anything, either just like programs and initiatives to kind of inform and engage the public in recycling programs or other sustainability things. One thing that I would love to see would be like community gardening or agricultural projects.
Right. And I know that there's a lot of those up in Massachusetts. When I've visited friends, there's community gardens all over the place. And my friend actually was part of one. And I told you, I think that the Samuel Smith House was looking to find a couple of acres in East Lyme and then develop a community garden and have it be kind of a giving garden so that people who don't have food security would be able to get
Exactly.
some nice fresh produce and then make that into delicious foods, meals for themselves.
Yeah, I really like that idea.
Because we all have big lots, or a lot of people have big lots, so why not section off part of it and make it into a community plot so that people can have the opportunity to grow things and to share things. The
Yeah,
other thing I
absolutely.
was noticing today, I went for a bike ride, and just on my bike ride, I like to ride around Patagonia Lake. And when I went around Patagonia Lake, I looked and saw Nips bottles and McDonald's cups and just some things that were thrown out, things that could be recycled, recyclable bottles and cans. Some of it you could get a nickel for, some of it's not worth anything, but I'd really like to see some strength in those bills.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, there's been some talk from moving it from a nickel to a dime. I think that would be, if that would help to defer people throwing things out the window, and then also having the Nips bottles maybe go for 50 cents, an additional 50 cents to get those to be not thrown out the window, but maybe picked up.
Yeah, I could definitely see that working.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I mentioned to you that the Eastline Viking Band does a beautiful job. Every second and fourth Saturday from 9 to 11:30, they recycle, and all of the proceeds from that go for tubas and instruments that maybe they're wanting to upgrade, or I don't know if they use it for uniforms, band uniforms, but you were part of the Viking Band, is that correct?
Yes, I was.
And your instrument was a
The
trombone?
trombone one. Yep.
Trombone, and I played the trombone. So, yeah, my arms aren't that long. I think you did better with it than I did.
Yeah, it was a pretty easy to reach all the way to the end, even as like a middle schooler when I was still learning.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, what are some concerns that you have, and what do you think I should focus on so that I can do the best for East Lyme and Salem? Because that's really what I want to do. I want to be your voice in Hartford. So, you need to tell me, Josh, what you think is important and how I can start to work on that as far as making those things happen.
Um, so like I said, I think as far as like big ideas, the only one I feel like I really had was the community garden idea. But any type of kind of program that we could receive funding for, or something along the lines of that, and like have a way of actually implementing something positive for the community, whether it be environmental or like for educational programs and assistance for people that need it or whatever we need.
I know that Flanders at one point, there was a teacher, and I don't remember which teacher it was. She was doing composting with the kids. And so she would take the compostable materials and then put them into the garden and then turn that so that it would turn into beautiful, rich, organic material and then become soil. And I think that kind of went by the wayside. But then I think the other thing that was really beautiful about that happened is that the kids started to really kind of care about the garden plot that was outside their classroom. And it was a living, working, breathing specimen that they could relate to and understand.
Yeah, I mean, and I'd even love to see that on like the high school level, where I think East Lyme does a very good job of getting kids into the STEM field and getting them interested, which I do think is really important. But at points I felt like, especially like as a student when I went to the high school, there were just times that trade jobs weren't necessarily as important, seen as important or like emphasized as much. And although we do have a lot of different options for classes, a lot of them were more of electives instead of treated as equally as other like core focuses, like the sciences. And I think that, and we could have those types of classes and kind of like have an agriculture class, start a greenhouse at the high school or something like that, because that still is science. Like that could all be under the biology. So you're kind of getting a little bit of both, like learn to grow things, but also learn about the science of plants and get that knowledge that you're still going to get in a classroom. And then it adds on to hands-on learning, which I know is something that we are pretty big on as a district in the school system right now anyways.
So the botany piece of it, that would be good. And I'm thinking too, we could do some things with hydroponics and aquaponics. It wouldn't just have to be traditional agronomy or agricultural type classes where we work with just the soil. I'm from Nebraska originally, and I used to have friends who would take seed science classes. And, of course, it's a very complicated and important curriculum that needs to be explored. And then I'm thinking too, like, what are some alternatives? Like, we don't want pesticides and fertilizers that damage the environment and wreak havoc with the water systems and with the soil and with the animals. So what are some natural ways to defer from the slugs and the bugs that kind of eat, I don't know, the flowers and the leaves of the plants and lay their eggs is what we're dealing with in our backyard farm, right? Or our backyard garden right now. It feels like a farm, but it's only a garden. So, yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a lot more ways that we can educate people through our school systems, even on more, what's the term?
Relevant, maybe, or?
Yeah, relevant, like just things that you can use in your everyday life once you're done with your education. It doesn't have to just be for you to go to college and then go get a job with that degree. Like, I think we can teach more in-depth, hands-on, practical resources and knowledge.
I agree.
To, kids.
Well, and I'm thinking too, I'm on the Board of Ed right now. I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not. And one of the things with the Board of Ed is that one of the things from the policy was that there would be relationships with the community and that we could help to develop and establish some of those things. And I really think that's important. Like, we're lifelong learners, and I have a friend who's 96 years old, and he came into an art class with me at the middle school last year, and he's an architect. He's actually the person who designed Town Hall. So he was really excited to be able to see the kinds of things that the kids are learning in their art classes and their design and how they're able to sculpture things 3D. And it was only a mask at the time, but just the opportunity, I think, and for them to see somebody who's kind of, in my mind, a living legend because he was a WW2 veteran, but then also designed our town hall and some of Main Street. So just for them to say, wow, this is the person who did that, and this is a career that you could make out of what you're doing in these classes, and
Yeah.
further motivating you, I think is
Yeah,
really.
I think showing how important whatever you're learning is a really great way to get people engaged and kind of find that passion with what they're learning.
Absolutely. I really totally agree with that. And well, then the interesting thing for him too, being as old as he is just like, it just sparked a light in him that I hadn't seen for a while. And so, and it was good for the kids, I think, to have somebody that's a few generations older than they were at the time to be in their classroom and to mingle with. So it's good at both levels. Okay, so, and what else about education? There's a new thrust towards multicultural education. Did you want to touch on that a little bit? What you think we should do with that?
Yeah, I definitely think we should heavily invest in multicultural education on all levels. I know I've seen a couple of things about how like the history books are taught from a very colonized perspective. And even though we try and present the facts like as unbiased as possible, I think there is still some bias in the way that the curriculum is taught at East Lyme. So I think
Interesting.
we should focus
Okay.
on working on that and also just teaching general, like, I don't know how to say it, multicultural, like, um, in today's
Say that
society,
again.
kind of
Oh, say that again. I'm not sure.
just having a bigger focus on multicultural education as it pertains to like society today. So not just understanding history and how we got to where we are, but kind of uh, how to appropriately deal with when you see racism or
Uh,
when you meet somebody that's different than you or anything along those lines.
well, and I did an interesting, it was an online class, and it's to the African American Museum that's part of the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. And they had something on about bias. And they said, if you look at a person of color, what is your response? And so then they showed all, and they said, if you survey a lot of people, that a lot of people will have, white, good, black, not so good, right? So, and that was part of what they were indicating. And then they said to break that bias, what we need to do is to give ourselves the opportunity to have really strong black men, handsome black men. So then you get pictures of all these smart, like Barack Obama, Nelson Mandela, just like person after person who, and then like Stevie Wonder, like these people who are artists, musicians, politicians, statesmen, like all these people who have done enormous things, and then look at them and say, wow, like these are our heroes, and that those are heroes. And you have to do that to break that bias and to break it through so that you understand it from a different perspective, and that your first reaction isn't going to be something that you don't want it to be, because it's so implicit. It's just so ingrained into us as a society that we need to really become aware and to shake that off to some extent. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's interesting. So I've been doing my own learning too. So that's the interesting thing with COVID, I think, is that I've been on more Zoom chats than I've ever been on, and I've been doing these little online programs and classes and things like that. So it's really good to have those opportunities. I'm thinking back to what you're talking about with the classroom, with the foods and all that. I think it would be cool to take it then to the next level of food preparation and nutrition, and having people eat things that are maybe outside of their normal plate or in their
Yeah,
refrigerator.
I know we already do that on some levels, like in the language classes, either like Spanish or French food from different regions, Spanish-speaking regions or French-speaking regions. But there's so many other places in the world, and backgrounds and cultures. I think we could try and find a way to focus on all of those things, or include they just implement little things in every aspect and every subject, so that we're not teaching just an entirely separate multicultural curriculum as like its own class and unit, but kind of ingraining all these different aspects of multiculturalism and how each subject pertains or relates to those different cultures.
Beautiful. I love that. So we could do it through art, through music, through athletics,
Exactly.
through PE, through a language class, through history, of course, and social studies, but then also probably English, because we have some amazing poets.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, love that. So you have to get involved with some of these ideas and share your ideas. I think that's one of the things that's really exciting about what's going on right now, is that people like you are stepping up and saying, hey, we need to do this a little bit differently, or think about this in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've talked about a little bit about education, and we've talked a little bit about the environment. Is there anything else that you're kind of dreaming about that's in your wheelhouse that you think we should focus on?
Nothing right now. I guess I know I did mention it yesterday when we were talking about my marching band experience. I would like to see a little bit better funding on the Board of Ed, and just kind of for those of anybody that's watching that doesn't know this already, I guess the East Lyme Marching Band, and I'm sure other organizations too, are not funded by the school, and have to kind of fund everything that they need to function through fundraising or like the bottle drive, anything that they can do to raise money to support their programs, because the school doesn't support them. Well, I know that we do put a lot of money into athletics and other things like that. So I just want to see funding kind of evenly distributed so that everybody can have an opportunity to do the things they love at the highest level that they want to do it at.
I like that. Nicely stated too. Better equity is what I'm hearing you say. So that sounds
Yes.
good. Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I'm really excited to be able to talk to you, and wondering if there's any other things that you'd like to bring up or that we should share as far as ideas. Of course, you're always just a phone call away or a text message, and I'd love to hear other ideas, because I think it's the 20-year-olds. And if we could create a world or an environment that you would feel like you'd want to move back and make this your home, we'd love that to be possible. I know for me, I'd like to see more bike paths, and maybe even better transportation, and a way to go from Flanders to Niantic without driving, like, right, if there was a trolley or some kind of a transportation system that
I'd
would
love that. Yeah.
a constant loop. And I think that would save a lot of people from, of course, during COVID, that none of this is really possible except for the bike lanes, because that's safe. But yeah.
But
All right. Well, I sure hope that you will join my campaign and work with us. I have some amazing people who are already volunteering. And let me see if I have a face mask here. I have some people who are making face masks, and aren't these cute? There's little donkeys on them. So I have some friends who are making face masks for me, and we're distributing these. And getting them out there, and just hoping that people are safe and that we can kind of get back to normal. I'll be glad when COVID is done and we can all kind of have a party and dance.
yeah, I'll consider campaigning for you, but you definitely have my vote. So.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much. So I'm glad to hear that you're with me and we're doing it. I'm with Cate. So I'm going to say Josh is with Cate. So I'm glad to hear that. So Josh,
Yes,
so glad to meet you, and hopefully we can grab coffee sometime or whatever your favorite beverage is. Maybe it's
yeah, that sounds good.
yeah, yeah, or even an ice cream. I'll buy you an ice cream cone. How's that?
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Josh, and good luck to you. And I can't wait to hear how your program goes. Is it a 2-year program for your master's?
I believe it is, but I'm working full time, so I'm gonna do a part time and just take a class or two here or there and kind of finish it when I can. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Absolutely,
I
because
think
we
it's gonna
need
be a
we
little
need
bit
your
more than a
brain.
year.
Yeah, we need to figure out what to do with those recyclable products because I'm going to start trying to pursue that as the next topic.
Yes,
And if
I'm
you hear
definitely
of
gonna
anything, yeah, let me know, okay?
brainstorm and stay in contact, give you any ideas I
Absolutely.
have.
Thank you. So nice to meet you. It was nice to meet you
Yeah,
on the phone, but it's even better to see you in person. You're very
yeah,
handsome.
nice to meet you too.
Okay, thanks. Take care.